want to show you a couple tips before we end this project. When you think you are finished or close to being finishing, I want you to take a step back and look at your whole piece, especially if you have something that looks like this, where you see a lot of white from the underneath coming through. Right now it looks like I just scribbled it really fast to get it completed. It looks a lot different than over here. I want you to go back in and fill in some of those whites. And this is basically what you do. You just go back over what you started and then just try to get into all those spaces that are showing, all that white space. Instead of coloring really long like this, really fast, if you slow down and just do shorter strokes, that helps with the craftsmanship. So you just take, just go right back over what you already did with your color and fill in those gaps so that it actually looks like you finished it. Same direction, don't forget to go in the same direction. I did notice that some people had gone in different directions. Try to go back over it again and continue in that same path. See how I just been kind of going up in the same path? Okay, and so now, since I did it a little slower and shorter strokes with my color pencil here, it now has filled in all those white spots that were coming through. Okay. All right, so now it looks like it's finished. The one other last thing I'm going to have you do with your project when it's completed, I want you to step back and take a look at all the elements and all the principles and make sure you have everything. You may notice that, I don't really have a lot of texture going on. Sometimes it does appear like there is texture though, just because the paper naturally makes it look like it has texture. So you can keep that. Because here, if you look at it, when I press really smoothly, it just has that smooth texture look. But over here, it looks a little bit more rough, because that just naturally happens with the paper. So you can keep it and use that as your texture. But at the very end, I'm going to have you do two things. I'm going to have you have a thicker Sharpie and a thinner Sharpie, and I'm going to have you outline. You do not have to outline if you really like how it is and you don't want to ruin it. If you think it's going to be ruined with Sharpie, by means don't worry about doing that. But it does clean up some lines, and I know a lot of you asked if you could use Sharpie. So what I have you do is just, in some of the bigger sections, you can outline it with the Sharpie. You're going to find, and actually with this one, I think it's already starting to run out of ink anyways, that sometimes the colored pencil, I picked one that's run out of ink. The colored pencil might not, or the Sharpie might not go very nicely over the colored pencil because you might have colored too dark in that spot. You just got to do it very slowly until the ink starts to come out. And before you actually do what I just did, make sure that the Sharpie works. The Sharpie is starting to run out of ink. I did it very slowly so that I didn't go outside the lines. And then maybe to contrast that thicker line, in some of the areas where it's smaller, I might outline it with a thinner Sharpie. Well, this Sharpie is actually working really well, so I don't have to worry about trying to go back over that. Oops. Now, here is a situation where you maybe went outside of the line here. I just did that. So what you want to do is thicken up on the line. I can color this in now and thicken that up right there. And then just come back to a thinner line. And maybe to kind of balance it on this side, I might thicken up this line. My hand's really shaky, so I'm starting to come outside the lines here. So this is what I'm going to do when that happens. I'm just going to thicken up on this line and then color it in. Okay. Another thing, last thing, if you want to add even more texture, you might have noticed on some of my samples hanging up that you can go and take the Sharpie and just add a little bit more. You do not have to do this. I feel like most of you won't have to, but some of you that do not have like a lot of stuff going on in your picture, you could go and add some more texture. What I tend to do is I like doing the little dot technique where I take my Sharpie and start just putting little dots. The more dots I have really close together in the corner makes it appear darker. And then as I gradually come out to do that transition of some value of dark to light, I add less dots and further away from each other. And then gradually I'll have like no dots anymore. So that's another thing to add texture if you want. You don't have to do it, especially if you're scared and afraid to add something with Sharpie, especially because you can't take it away. Then please don't do that if you're feeling kind of scared to do that. But these are just some other options to add more to your piece if you would like. Okay. Maybe what I would do is come from the other angle here and do the same thing eventually. So there are other things that you could do to add to it if you want to enhance it, but take a step back and see what else needs to happen. Okay? Thanks so much.